a Brazilian video. It's amazing. Okay.
Americans generally think of Brazil as a country of beaches, jungles, and Christ the Redeemer, a friendly tourist destination with fun and festivity. But Brazil isn't just a nice spot for a vacation. It's one of the most unequal countries in the world. It's also a country with one of the most successful socialist movements of our time. In 1888, Brazil abolished slavery, the last country in the Americas to do so. But even after a republic was established in 1889, elites excluded most people from voting, using their power to enrich themselves and their families. For decades, Brazil was a textbook oligarchy, based on coffee with milk politics, a reference to the agrarian economies of the two most influential states. The government acted above all to protect elite interests, while millions languished in poverty. As Brazil urbanized, peasants flocking to cities could see prosperity around them, but couldn't reach it. They built sprawling informal settlements called favelas, stark illustrations of the country's disparity. By the early 1960s, an alternative vision emerged, based on land redistribution and expanded democracy. Communists, peasants, workers, and students supported this reformist push. But then, fearing a communist takeover, the United States and local elites supported a military coup. From 1964 to 1985, Brazil was ruled by a brutal dictatorship that killed and tortured thousands of people. But by the late 1970s, something was changing. Workers noticed their wages were not keeping pace with the rising cost of living. It turned out they were getting paid significantly less than the regime let on. So, led by a combative, charismatic union leader named Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, commonly known as Lula, workers in the industrial heartland around São Paulo went on strike. Lula understood well the indignities of the working class. His parents were illiterate peasants who struggled to give their kids a better life. And he didn't learn to read until he was 10. When he was 18, he crushed his pinky in a workplace accident. And by the time he was seen by a doctor 4 hours later, there was no choice but to amputate the finger. Driven by these experiences, Lula and those around him realized that workers needed their own political party. So in 1980, they created the Partido dos Trabalhadores, the Workers' Party. It was the first party in Brazil created for workers by workers. The Workers' Party grew quickly, and in 2002, after 3 failed attempts, Lula was elected president. In office, Lula recognized that Brazil's fundamental problem was the grinding poverty and inequality that previous governments had mostly ignored. So in 2003, Lula's administration introduced Bolsa Família, the family stipend. Basically, the government would guarantee an income to families in extreme poverty, those earning less than $17 per person per month. And when poor families over the official poverty line were expecting a child or had a child below 18, they would get extra income too. As long as families get—
There's a new Dave Chappelle comedy special, by the way, and it's apparently even more fucking like anti-LGBT than before, which I don't know. I'll look at it. I haven't seen it yet.
Get vaccinations and keep their kids in school, they can receive benefits indefinitely. There's no mandatory drug testing and no work requirement. With this guaranteed monthly income, poor families can meet their basic needs and afford safer living conditions. The program doesn't provide a lot by American standards. Most families receive about $38 a month. But for the neediest Brazilians, it has been transformational. Compared to what other countries were doing, the scale of Bolsa Família was incredible. In the 1990s, US President Bill Clinton had implemented welfare reform. He made it more difficult to access government benefits. Promising to end welfare as we know it, he instituted work requirements and drug tests. It became so complicated and humiliating to secure government assistance that many Americans who needed—
Isn't joking about it? That's a dumb take. Dude, I literally haven't even given a take yet. Like, I love— This reveals people's fucking points of view on the culture war when it comes to like jokes and shit. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't said anything about it yet. And this guy is already mad at me because he suspects. Like, he's like, I haven't even said anything yet about it. I just simply said, apparently, this one is like even more anti-LGBT than before. And have always been a massive fucking Dave Chappelle fan. Like, massive, massive, massive Dave Chappelle fan. He says he's on Team Turf. Oh, no. I'm Team Turf? What the fuck? I mean, it's so whack because turfs are so fucking annoying too. Dude, they are like the least funny people on the fucking planet. Like you just have to hate trans people so much to find yourself siding with some of the least funny people on the planet, dude. Turfs have literally never laughed a day in their fucking lives, dude. Okay? They are unironically the 2015, 2016 era, like rad libs that everyone used to hyper focus on. They're all turfs now. Like the fucking blue haired SJW that like is screeching on the college campus, like, I'm mansplaining. Like those are the fucking turfs, dude. Those are literally the turfs. Like now you're aligned with those people. The fuck? That's so whack. Like people that genuinely get upset at like manspreading and shit. That's like real turf behavior. Saying that like you should write wommixen instead of women because men should not be in that word at all. Like that's or women with a Y. Like real fucking turf behavior right there. Those guys are who you're gonna fucking side with because you just have fucking hate trans people. You find trans people to be strange or weird or some shit. Like those are the people.
Culture, vulture, sculpture, culture, rupture.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Embarrassing.
Armature,
now, I don't know.
My man's watching Hasan.
What the context is, and I'll take a look at it.
Support received no help at all. Extreme poverty soared. Brazil's radical experiment, meanwhile,
7 months
had the exact opposite effect. Bolsa Familia quickly became an international success story. For one thing, it dramatically reduced poverty. By 2015, the percentage of the population living below the international poverty line had dropped from 13% to just 3%. Bolsa Familia helped lift over 40 million people out of extreme poverty. In one of the most unequal countries in the world, it has cut wealth inequality by as much as 20%. Bolsa Familia has also significantly reduced child labor and improved educational outcomes for the poorest children. Studies suggest the program has helped lower rates of domestic violence, postpartum depression, suicide, and even tooth decay in children. Bolsa Familia isn't just a cash transfer program. It's a successful attempt to wrestle with the legacy of social neglect. For many Brazilians, Bolsa Familia is the most tangible example of the state acting on their behalf. It represents the very promise of citizenship. It directly attacks poverty in the present, enabling families to invest in their children's future. Lula left office in 2010 as one.
This is disgusting to me. An anti-communist. How will those people learn how to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, dude? That's right. That's right. They never will, dude. Disgusting. Reducing poverty by giving people money? Disgusting.
One of the most popular leaders on earth, and by far the most popular in Brazilian history. Bolsa Familia was a major reason for that. In fact, when a far-right extremist won the presidency in 2018, he sought ways to rebrand the program as his own. So while the United States sought to push people out of poverty by forcing them off welfare, socialists in Brazil did the exact opposite. They opened government support to more people. In the US, poverty went up. In Brazil under Lula, poverty shrunk, inequality fell, and the economy grew to 5 times the size than when Lula took office. Now, Brazil is still marked by serious inequality, but the Workers' Party showed that governments can act to dramatically reduce poverty. The first step is recognizing that poor people don't become less poor if their government calls them lazy or makes them take a drug test just to afford groceries. Enable families to meet their material needs, and they'll lead better lives. Lula remains popular in Brazil because he acknowledged that every—
Wait, that's crazy, man. What? One of the funniest things that's happened in the post-COVID world, by the way, even though we're not like past COVID, is that workplaces no longer require drug testing. I love that. It's awesome.
Everyone deserves a dignified life, regardless of their class or income. And as we confront the rot that prosperous elite...
They're going to talk about car wash Lula? I don't know. Are they? Are they going to also then talk about how that was like propped up by the current administration's like leading fucking judge that was a prosecutor at the time, and it was like totally fucking falsified so that a fucking fascist like Bolsonaro could come into power?
Elites in this country have allowed to fester for too long. We might learn something from the example of the Workers' Party in Brazil. I'm Andre Pagliarini, professor of history and Latin American studies at Dartmouth for the Gravel Institute.
Hey, if you like this video, please subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out on any future videos.